And joining us now is Carrie Severino, president of the Judicial Crisis Network. Carrie, welcome back. Great to be with you today. A lot to get to, but first, your reaction to the decision.
Yeah, this is an amazing day to see that we finally, after so many years and so much work, have a court where a majority of the justices are willing to enforce the Constitution as written, to stand up against those who want to just invent rights that are not there, and to do so in the face of really unprecedented hostility after this leak. You know, I think the intention of the leak was to create the kinds of increasingly violent and threatening riots and disturbances we're seeing at the court and even in front of the justices' own homes. We saw even an attempted assassination, and the fact that they're still willing to stand up for what they know is the correct constitutional decision. That is a huge victory for the rule of law.
Absolutely. And Carrie, can you walk us through this ruling that not only overturned Roe versus Wade, but also Planned Parenthood of Southeastern PA versus Casey?
Yeah, and really Planned Parenthood versus Casey itself effectively rewrote Roe. So that was the real governing law left, even though Roe obviously was what started it all. This case was so clear. Instead of trying to, what sometimes the court does is they say, well, we're not really fully overturning this, but they effectively change everything it stands for. Here, they just said, look, there is no right to abortion in the Constitution. Roe and Casey are overturned. They left it very clear. They pointed out that, you know, yes, we follow precedent in most cases, but when a case is so egregiously wrong, and these cases are absolutely egregiously wrong, when they disrupt all of these other areas of law. So there's so many other areas where fetal life is protected, but somehow they have to sit uneasily with this case that says, yes, but a mother actually can kill her unborn child, even though, you know, if someone else attacked her and killed it, would be protected by law. So many reasons that the court said this is one of those cases where you have to go back and just reconsider the precedent, say, you know what, let's start from scratch because we have to ultimately follow what the Constitution says. They were very clear. This doesn't imply all of the parade of horribles the left is saying. This isn't going to affect a lot of these other decisions, whether it be about contraception or about same-sex marriage or other areas. It's really limited to abortion, and all it's going to do is put this issue back in the state. So this is taking the court out of this business, but it's certainly not the last word for the pro-life movement, because now we'll be talking to state legislatures, make sure our state judges are interpreting their state constitutions faithfully. And I think there will be some role for federal legislation as well. So all of those will work together to help battle out really what American abortion policy is going to look like.
Yeah, and Carrie, as you mentioned, this now goes back to the states. But what about those states with trigger laws? Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, so there are some states that had laws before Roe. For example, Texas, that had a law that was overturned in Roe versus Wade. Those laws now come back to life, and some people call it the trigger laws or springing laws. There are some states that have passed laws intentionally to try to get them so that they said, well, right now we know we can't pass a law protecting life, but we know that I think there's about 13 states that have these laws that once Roe is overturned, then those laws go into effect. And so in those states, now that Roe is overturned, a few of them you have to wait like 5 days or 30 days. But then at that point, their law protecting life will come into effect. All of them look a little different. They might have different exceptions or qualifications involving the life of the mother or things. But those laws will then come into effect. And then there's other states, unfortunately, like Californians and the New Yorks of the world, that are going to continue having abortion virtually up to the moment of birth. And so this is going to look very different depending on where in the country you are.
Yeah, Carrie, we probably have maybe about a minute or so left, but I do want to talk to you about this. As you know, President Biden spoke earlier today and said in part today's ruling was a tragic error by the court. He also said that this is not over, and he called on Congress to make Roe versus Wade federal law. I want to get your thoughts on all that.
Yeah, you know, that's a shame from a president who used to be consider himself pro-life and obviously still considers himself Catholic. So to be advancing some of these policies, you know, the Senate had and the Congress had a bill about abortion. It was incredibly radical. It went way beyond merely codifying Roe to take away all conscience rights and many other, just simple abortion restrictions that were in place before. So we'll see whether they try to do that. I would optimistic that the Senate will be able to block that type of extreme legislation and make sure that the American people still have a voice, because we know that most Americans, even if they say they like Roe, don't really want what it stands for. They don't want 9 months of virtually unrestricted abortion. They want to be able to protect fetal life, and I think that's hopefully what we'll end up seeing. But certainly the Biden administration is doing everything they can to stop that.
Well, Carrie, thank you so much for coming on today. Great to be with you.
Thanks. Have a good night.